Bob, let's go back to the conference. Pick a highlight. Give me a highlight from all of the content, all of the information that you saw. What was an example, or maybe a couple of examples that really stood out for you?
One of the things was the case study shown by the US Department of Veterans Affairs. They came to social media fairly late. US Veterans Affairs, massive organisations dealing with ex-service men and women across a range of wars. They came to media fairly late, and they came around about it in a funny way. Now, they came about it because local staff in Los Angeles were using the platforms. And without authorisation, I might add, were using the platforms, but doing so in a very engaging way. And it came to the notice of head office in Washington. The Director of Communications picked that up, encouraged the local Los Angeles office to continue, saw the value, and then it is now a requirement for all the Veterans Affairs hospitals and all their field officers to engage. So it's not a nice to have, it's a must have. So there's a way where a couple of committed local staff members proved the value at the local level, shot up to the national level, and then diffused across the whole organisation.
And what were some of the things that those local people were doing to create community that showed head office that this is a very valuable platform?
The local officers were doing things which were really, most of us are doing, most of us who have social media accounts. What they were doing is they were establishing the Twitter, they were establishing their Facebook presence. They thought that some YouTube videos on how veterans could access services might be helpful, so they did that locally. They thought that the local media might appreciate some images, so they started up a Flickr account, and it grew from there. And they'll be the first to admit they did little steps all along the way. So by the time it got up to Washington, what it looked like was a well-conceived package. What it was men and women at the local level just trying things, experimenting with them. Some worked, let's continue with that. Some didn't, we won't pursue that anymore.
One of the great things about online and particularly digital communications is the measurement, the analytics. Forever in public relations, it's always been very difficult to wrestle with that vexed question of, well, what is in fact that worth? How can I measure it? How can I get the return on investment that I can march up to the executives to show the value of it? What are your thoughts around the measurement side of online communication?
I think the jury is still out on measurement. For example, you can get a number of quantitative data. You know, Mr. Google will give you a bunch of analytics on your blog or on your website, etc. You can follow how many Twitters you have. There are commercial programs like Radian 6 which will give you all sorts of measures, etc. But at the end of the day, I think the jury's still out, and there's still a lot of work to be done on what is actually the value of a like. What's the commercial or the practical value of someone liking you on a site? What's the value of having someone follow you? My personal perception is there's really not much value unless that's translating into some sort of action for the organisation. That action could be a sale, it could be a change in attitude, it could be a behaviour. Pick up the phone, access this new government service, come and check out our information, etc. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done. Now, I know that Public Relations Society of America has got a national committee looking at this thing right now, and they've got the best and brightest brains across America looking at this. Jury's still out on moving beyond analytics into measurement of real impact. That's my impression.